So now I'd like to open the meeting to the sharing of testimonies of healing through Christian Science.
I am very, very grateful for this church. I know that my life was saved when I first came to this church in 2013. Lately, however, I've begun to feel that every single time I do work for this church, I am saved all over again. Every little shiny thing that tries to take my eye off God threatens to take me right back to that place I was before coming here, and I don't ever want that again. So I'm so grateful for practitioner help, member support, and everything we do in unity as a part of this church, because it all helps me to keep my focus on what is good and real. Thank you. And I also have something to play. So.
Hi, this is Lauren. I live in California near San Francisco. I wish to give gratitude for the lesson. Last week, there was a story about Moses going up to the mountain and coming back and just radiating love. And I got that idea. It was last Saturday, and the Memorial Weekend was coming up, and I needed to buy a few things at Costco, and the Costco store was closed on Memorial Day holiday. So I went down on a Saturday morning in the peak of traffic to buy some gas and get a few items. As it turned out, everyone, just because I was radiating and read that lesson and was just radiating the Christ Spirit, the gas line moved slowly, but it all moved harmoniously. And then when I got into the store, I only had one item, and there was just tons of people waiting to check out, but everyone was just so friendly. They cooperated. Oh, you got just one item? Just go ahead of me and go ahead of me. And so, but it only took maybe about 5 minutes to select my item and go through the checkout on a busy Saturday at Costco. So I'm just so grateful. The not only the lesson, but just the whole atmosphere at Plainfield is so promotive of healing. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
And thank you to both of you. Jim from Arizona, go ahead.
Thank you and good evening. I was so grateful to have the Liberator magazine, Love is a Liberator, arrive yesterday. I received 2 copies, and I am so grateful that I was able to give one of them away already. I have started reading it, and there are so many healing messages in that. And I'm very, very grateful. I would also like to express gratitude for one of our practitioners in a quick healing. I wakened up one morning with a foot that was hurting, and I called the practitioner, and we talked. And the next day, the next 2 or 3 days, we didn't say too much about it. But we did discuss the lesson. However, on I think it was the 4th day, I awakened and realized that the healing was taking place, and there was no more ache or pain in the foot. I am so grateful for this quick and rapid healing. Thank you.
Thank you. Day from Maryland, please go ahead.
I'm thankful for the article, God's Plan for You, found in the Love is the Liberator magazine, featured on the Plainfield website carousel. The article states, God has a destiny or plan for each of us that is far better and more satisfying than any human destiny we could imagine. God, who made each of us, put us here for a good purpose, to live a meaningful life. This is something that I've learned through Plainfield, and it's something that I'll continue to work with. It leaves no room for comparisons or competition, and eliminates discouragement and disappointment in situations such as receiving a rejection letter in response to an application or missing an attractive opportunity. Remaining joyful through these experiences is helping me to realize that all I truly want is what God wants for me. And I can't miss any opportunity that He is giving me. This allows me to keep pushing forward through each experience with joyful expectation. And this has been one of many significant changes in my life. I am so, so, so grateful for my growing understanding of God and His love for us all, and for the ability to apply it daily and to see how it's enhancing my life. Thank you so much for tonight's meeting and for tonight's reading.
Thank you.
I'm very grateful for a healing my granddaughter had just recently. She'd been having trouble in school. She was having trouble concentrating, and her grades were slipping. So I drive past her school every day on my way to work. So every morning when I go by, I pray, and I send out to her, I say that God loves you. God is your mind. Everything you need to know is already there, and God is revealing it to you. And error can't make you dull or make you forget. And that God is your life, and He governs and protects every bit of you. And you are His shining star, and nothing can dull that. So I've been doing that for a few months now. And over the weekend, her mom told me that all of a sudden her grades have gone back up again, and she's not having any trouble in school anymore. And I told her what I've been doing, and she thanked me. She was so grateful. And I am so grateful to God for Christian Science and to Mrs. Eddy for giving it to us. And also grateful for practitioner help that goes into every area of our lives. I'm very, very grateful, and thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I want to give gratitude. About a little while ago, I was all of a sudden severely hurt. I spasmed on one side of me, and I could hardly walk. But I still came to church after calling practitioner and was told that such supportive statements that that God, that she would pray for me and God would help, and that this was not God's plan. That intelligent matter could not ache, swell, or be inflamed from science and health. And I went away with encouragement, and hymn number 253 I had shared would give me some comfort. Christ My Refuge by Mary Baker Eddy. Well, we continued. She continued supporting me, and I was getting better quickly, but I still had this pain. And it was like a reminder of, oh, you're mortal, you're weak, you're this. And it was bothering me. When I came to church, the pain would go away, which is beautiful. But when I left, often it would come back. The practitioner told me that when this ceases to bless, it will leave. And I'd like to comment that I'm totally pain-free now. So I'm sure I've learned my lessons, that God is life, and life is doing good, and making Him proud. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a wonderful reading. Thank you for the two readers. Today, when there have been weather notification that it was going to rain today, and when I got the message that it was going to rain, I felt like, no, it's not going to rain, because I have something planned to do outdoor today. In fact, today in the afternoon, after lunch with some friends here, I made a joke that I'm going to hold it right until I'm done with what I'm going to do. But actually, I was serious about it. One of the things that I planned to do outdoor today was to mow my lawn. because if I fail to do it today, I'm not gonna be able to do it all week, and if I wait till next week, probably will be overgrown and difficult for me to do. But I was serious when I said I was gonna hold it, because if you look at the sky in the afternoon, it was so cloudy and thick, and you can actually hear the I don't know what you call it, but you can hear the sound going on, like it was waiting to drop. Then after lunch, I made a few stops, including coming to church, and I did the church sign. I also made a few more stops, but I was still holding my thought that it's not going to rain until I get home and mow my lawn. So it didn't rain until I went home, and I did other things, take care of the little guy that lived with me, and I mowed my lawn. And that was it, and everything calmed down. After a while, it started to rain. When I have done everything that I wanted to do, then I told the rain, it's your turn. You can rain anytime you want. I'm so grateful. It looks very simple, but the Bible says that God gave us dominion, and that includes the dominion to do whatever we want to do inside or outside our environment, including controlling the weather so that it can work well for us the way God has planned it without disrupting our schedule. It's just one of the many incidences that God has provided me and everyone opportunity to express the dominion that God has given us. Thank you.
Thank you.
941-387.
Okay, someone is called in from area code 941, starting with 387. Please announce yourself and go ahead with your testimony. Unmute, possibly unmute on your end.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Oh, hi. Okay, hi everyone. I'm at work and I'm under the desk, so I got to make this fast. But I was so inspired to give a testimony this evening, and excuse me if I have to rush a little bit, but I'm so deeply grateful for Plainfield Independent for being so strong, courageous, and just offering this church for everyone to participate and be a part of in unity and love and in strength, to be thinkers, independent thinkers. And I'm so grateful for Mrs. Eddy for giving us this science of Christianity inspired by Jesus and God to teach humanity and to help us with our life on a daily basis, that we can have laws, metaphysical laws, to enlighten us and to uplift us and help us with daily encounters with life, with relationships, with work, with health, with everything. And I just can't imagine my life without this science. I mean, what would I do? How do I even go forth every day, every moment without having these metaphysical laws? And I will always be thankful, because Christian Science gives us so much work every day to do. It's not just showing up on Wednesday services or Sunday and here we are. No, we need to think and work, and we're constantly working, and that's why every Christian Scientist that I ever known or will know should never, ever be without work, because we have plenty of work to do. So thank you so much, especially to Plainfield, for all the members, the listeners, everyone who partakes, because you inspire me daily to continue to work hard. And where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. So amen, Plainfield. Kudos to you. Good night, everyone. Thank you for the readings.
And thank you.
I'm just so grateful for being woken out of a bad dream recently. It's been going on for a while, and my thinking has been negative. And when you're in a dream, you can't see it. But thank God for practitioner help that woke me up to see this. I was given many wonderful things to work with. I was told to keep my joy and stay out of the negative. And I was reminded there is much work to be done, and I have a purpose here. I was also told that bad thoughts are poison to the world, and can't have that. And told to stop loving self more than God. Well, with all these wonderful things to work with, I feel alive again. And I'm just so grateful for God, for Christian Science, for Mrs. Eddy for giving this wonderful science, and for the strong practitioner help. And thank you for those wonderful readings.
Thank you. Chardell from Pennsylvania, go ahead.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for those lovely readings. Tonight, I would like to express my gratitude for the fruitage section found at the end of Science and Health of Key to the Scriptures. All the healings reported and placed there came solely by reading Science and Health by Mary Baker Eddy. Last week, a family member who is not a Christian Scientist was experiencing dark thoughts and great sadness. I prayed to see God's man and went to read the definition of man in the glossary of Science and Health and flipped to the fruitage section by mistake, where my eyes fell upon the healing, and I felt so calm that I backed up the page and found on page 669 these words near the end of the selection. I'd like to just read a few. I opened Science and Health, the woman is writing, and these words were before me. If God were understood instead of being merely believed, this understanding would establish health, page 203. I saw that I must get the right understanding of God. I closed the book, and with head bowed in prayer, I waited with longing intensity for some answer. How long I waited, I do not know, but suddenly, like a wonderful burst of sunlight after a storm, came clearly this thought: be still and know that I am God. I held my breath. Deep into my hungering thought sank the infinite meaning of that I. All self-conceit, egotism, selfishness, everything that constitutes the mortal I, sank abashed out of sight. And I continued reading, but I want to stop there for now. This was perfect for me, as I have been working with a practitioner on understanding, not just belief. My family member is going on with her life, going to work each day, caring for her family, and showing gratitude. I thank all of the Universal Plainfield Church for progress in understanding God and not just belief. Thank you.
Thank you.
Every morning before I go to work, I ask God, is this the right time to leave? And when I feel peaceful, I leave for work. And on the way, I sing Mrs. Eddy's hymn, Shepherd, Show Me How to Go. And there's several ways to go. And I'm always guided in the right time, in the right way, and I always arrive at work on time. Well, recently, several members of my group, they were all late. One was 15 minutes late, one was 25 minutes late, and one was 50 minutes late. And one person said to me, "You're always on time. How come that is?" So I told her, I said, because I asked God when to leave and what way to go. And she said, "Really? I never heard of that." And I said, well, you should try it. I said, because God will never give you the wrong direction. Well, she's been doing it, and she's been on time every day since. I was just so grateful to be able to have this religion to share, that it's such a simple thing, but it makes people think, where else can I go to God for everyday things? I am so grateful for what I'm learning in this church, for the round tables, the Bible study, and especially for practitioner help. And thank you for the readings.
Thank you. Mike from New York, go ahead.
Thank you. I've only been attending for maybe 2 or 3 weeks now, and what I really love is that every time I listen in, there is a new inspiration or a new way of looking at something. And in one of the round tables or Bible studies, somebody mentioned that we should always be working on the weather. And this evening, a grim-looking cloud started in our direction, and thinking of some of the testimonies that some of the early workers that worked for Mary Baker Eddy in her home talked about, I decided that I should really face that situation so that it would be returned to its harmonious state that it should be. And after that was a successful demonstration, I thought back on one of my more interesting experiences. I was working on the garage door, changing the springs, doing that myself to save money, and I got a call where I had to attend to something very immediately. And so everything was pretty much back together again on the garage door, so I closed the garage door, but unfortunately I had forgotten one of my tools right in the middle on top. So when the door came down, my successful job ended up with the whole top of the door totally crumpling inward. So I raised the door, pulled the tool out, was a little bit annoyed at having made such a foolish mistake, but then decided that instead of lamenting it all night, I would simply work on it through Christian Science and see what transpired in the morning. So the next morning, I went out and I raised the door, and the door worked perfectly well, so I decided that there was absolutely no point in looking any further. I can just trust God, and everything will be fine. And that was, I don't know how many years ago, and that's the way it has been. And so I am so grateful, especially when I hear testimonies like the ones tonight, where there's no way anybody can say, well, that could never have happened, so it couldn't have been God. In a situation like this, there was absolutely no other alternative. I am so grateful for God, Mary Baker Eddy, for following Christ right to the T, and so happy to be attending church again with Plainfield.
Thank you. Fairley from Maryland, go ahead.
Once I found Plainfield and had help from my practitioner there. The years of depression I had suffered, the disappointment I had been grappling with over having been unable to practice Christian Science effectively, not having any real instruction, those years just vanished away. I had been brought up by someone who loved flowers, and she passed that on to me. So a long time ago, I planted a host of perennials in my backyard. There was no sun in the front yard. However, during the lost years, I had not even looked outside to see all the daffodils and iris and peonies I had planted. I totally lost interest in that and everything. When I was able to sleep, I would wake up to try not to think anything, since I was basically terrified of what was going to happen to me after I died. After I found Plainfield, I came to have more joy than I had ever experienced in my whole life. In the spring, I went outside and gathered bouquets of daffodils for our home and our friends. As Mrs. Eddy writes, the floral apostles are hieroglyphs of deity. For the joy I have found in coming to know God better and understand my relationship to Him, I am truly grateful to God, to Jesus, to Mrs. Eddy, and to my practitioner and all those at Plainfield that have brought me into this wonderful science. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dale W. from Virginia, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for those wonderful readings tonight, and all the testimonies are so inspiring. I'd like to give gratitude tonight for something. Some weeks ago, after going to bed, I started to feel sick and in pain. This is something that I had experienced before, and when it did, I would have to get up and sometimes spend up to an hour praying before I would feel better. This time, as soon as it started, I mentally yelled, "No, get thee hence, Satan. You can't make me get up and lose my rest. God is the only power and presence." I remembered a recent testimony in this church of someone who had a cold. The practitioner had given them Mrs. Eddy's article, I've got cold, to work with, and when it didn't yield right away, they said, "I've not got cold." They refused it and cast it out. Also, I remembered another testimony that I had read, someone saying that they didn't have to work to change anything, but to acknowledge God's perfect creation right now. I claimed God's presence and love for me. I then thought of God's love caring for all those in need, in my neighborhood, in hospitals, in nursing homes, everyone in my town, in the state, our country, the world. I realized God's love enfolding all mankind and was so grateful for it. I then realized that I felt perfectly fine, and the problem has not returned. I am so grateful for everything that is shared in this church, this independent church, all those who share their ideas and thoughts and their inspiration. I'm so grateful to God and Mary Baker Eddy, and I just want to express my gratitude tonight.
Thank you. Florence from Georgia, go ahead.
It wasn't easy. Many times I was up during the night studying and crying and turning to God. And from the readings tonight, it said that, I read it from Science and Health where it came from. It says, man's enslavement to the most relentless masters, passion, selfishness, envy, hatred, and revenge, is conquered only by a mighty struggle. It sure is not a comfortable feeling when that process is going on. At times I was so frightened and actually felt as if I'm on fire. I guess that's what we refer to here as the ring of fire. But I was instructed to see that this struggle is not by myself. It is the Christ at work, removing these false thoughts, the false thinking, the false habits that I've had. And all I needed to do was to be willing to be rid of all those things that don't belong to a child of God. And I'm so grateful also for how to do it. I understood that if I would be grateful for even one thing, and truly, sincerely grateful to God for giving us His dominion and working with us through everything. It's an uplifting happening that really helps you to endure whatever is going on. And also to look at what the result is. What is my reward after all this? It's a way for me to get closer to God, something I wanted more than anything. And so I'm so grateful tonight for the discipline that Christian Science has taught here at Plainfield. Does help you to really go forward no matter how difficult the struggle might be. I just wanted to say that because the readings were wonderful and it points to what we have to do in order to gain this pearl of great price. I can't imagine what my life would be now if I hadn't gone through all the struggle, the bad times, the many crying nights. I can't be grateful enough for Mrs. Eddy, Christ Jesus, and for everyone here who contributes to make this truth available to many struggling hearts. Thank you.
Thank you.